Hey there, this is Kelly Sinkowski, and we're still shining the spotlight on Virginia's redistricting referendum. On April 21st, Virginia's voters will decide if our district maps will be redrawn. I've invited leaders from both the Republican and Democratic parties to join me. Local representatives, delegates, and state senators are all welcome to have a chat with me to discuss this voting referendum. With me today is Hank Scharpenberg, who is the chair of the Stafford Republican Committee. Hank, I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with the Stafford Republican Committee?
Um, after in February, I was asked if I would consider being the chairman of the Republican Committee, and initially that was quite a task. And so some people talked to me, and I decided that it was kind of an obligation to do that. And I ran for the office, and I was elected to be the chairman. And I'm currently trying to get the party to move in a direction that's more inclusive, more organized, more multifaceted to deal with the changing environment in Virginia.
And so, on a local level, what does it look like for you being involved in this special election?
It's kind of interesting. Normally, if you take over as chairman, you have a little bit of time before the next election to get the committee the way you want it to. And here I am, elected in the first week of February. We're in March 31st, and we have an election in 3 weeks. So it's been kind of wild trying to get everything organized, focused, get people on the same sheet of music, getting ready for this referendum.
It's a trial by fire, as they say. They threw you into the pool.
Oh, definitely into the fire, yes.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share the language of the ballot so that our viewers can remember what we're talking about here. So the question on the ballot is, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming election, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? So, Hank, let's go ahead and start with what is a fair map?
A fair map is what the voters did in 2020, where there was a bipartisan commission that allocated, apportioned out the state in terms of districts. This ballot is just astounding that we're going to restore fairness. If it wasn't fair in 2020, how are we going to restore fairness where politicians decide instead of the voters how the state of Virginia should be apportioned? Right, looking at it right off the bat, you have some districts that are 100 miles from top to bottom. And districts are supposed to be configured around localities, jurisdictions, population centers. And the way this map was drawn was to change it from 6 to 5 to 10 to 1. And by no definition of fairness would I call that an appropriate division for the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Well, there are some voters who will say that they feel both parties will take positions on redistricting based on what's going to benefit their own party politically. How would you respond to that?
Well, it is true that both Republicans and Democrats have done that in the past. The Democrats are a little bit more quiet about it. I turn to the New England states where you have 21 representatives in New England, 6 New England states. And even though the split is comparable to what we have in Virginia in terms of numbers of independents, Republicans, and Democrats, there's not one Republican representative up there. So that has been a gerrymandering effort that people have kept quiet about. Now, New York has done it. I don't condone it. Texas has done it. I don't condone it. And California has followed suit. I don't think Virginia should do it just because somebody else did. It's sort of like your mother used to tell you, if somebody tells you to jump off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? No. I'd like to think we have a lot more common sense than that. It disenfranchises 70% of the voters in Virginia, those independents and those Republicans who relied upon that commission in 2020 to come up with a fair and equitable map. At the point in time when the Republicans in Virginia had the governorship and both houses. Nobody did that. Yet you have our current governor who professed to be a moderate and is anything but quickly led the effort with her uh, this House and Senate to change the map. I find this unbelievable and very disheartening that people in the Commonwealth would even consider that. And I'm also astounded at how the language ever made it through the legal system to appear on a ballot. If that isn't trying to bias a voter, I don't know what is. As you can tell, I have no strong feelings about this.
Well, you basically answered my next question, which is going to be when we see other states taking these sort of redistricting measures, should it fall on other states to essentially counteract or make up for other states' behavior?
No, I don't think so, because every state is their own entity under the Constitution, and they have their own responsibility to their voters. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if New England doesn't want to address that, I don't think we should send in the National Guard and take over New England and force them to allocate their map correctly. And because California or New York or Texas acts in a way that is not really fair and representative, the Commonwealth doesn't have to go down that path.
So what are you hearing from voters on the local level? People in Stafford County, what are you hearing about their concerns or their understanding of this referendum?
I think the disingenuous language is confusing to a lot of people. You know, take that phrase. Do you want to vote to restore fairness? Yes or no? And the first inclination is, well, I want there to be fairness. Well, that language should not even be on the ballot. Uh, there are a lot of people who feel very strongly about this and are vehemently opposed to it. There are a lot of other folks who are not quite educated as to the implications and what the language really means. And anytime you have an off-year election, a special election, people go, another election. We just did an election in November, and you want me to go to the
Mhm.
polls again. So all sorts of issues making this complex and complicating the voters' understanding of what is really at stake here.
And then I guess, I mean, just kind of wrap it up, Hank. If there was one thing that you want voters to know before they go vote, what would it be?
If you vote yes, you are ensuring one party rule in the Commonwealth for the foreseeable future, at least the next 4 years and probably longer. If you vote no, you restore the 6-5 balance, and then the voters can decide how Virginia should be divided between Republicans and Democrats.
Thank you, Hank. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Anytime, Kelly. This is important information, and I applaud you and your newspaper for getting the word out.
Thank you. And I want to remind everybody that with Hank Scharpenberg with the Stafford Republican Committee. And this is in the Spotlight series where we're focusing on the Virginia redistricting referendum, and we're talking to people on both sides of the aisle about why they support or don't support the vote. April 21st is the last chance to vote, so make sure you're following along so you understand the issue on the ballot. Take care and have a great day.
Thank you.
Stop.